Welcome everyone to Bardscast. I am your warm and convivial host, Carlin Bardsley, talking to interesting people about interesting things. If it's interesting to me, that's good enough. And joining me now, this man has been a fixture on the Taiwan music scene, and the Taiwan music scene for that matter, for eons it seems like. He's got a voice that is somewhere in a mixture of Fergie and Jesus. The one, the only, the inimitable, Patrick Delano Reid. Hey, Patty.
Thanks, Garland. How's it going?
I'm doing the best I can with the limited tools I have, my brother. Thanks for stopping by. It's been a long, strange trip, hasn't it?
Yeah. This studio is starting to look really cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's starting to come together. Of course, we had the great Andy Good come in here and with Mike Ferris lay down some saxophone tracks for his new album that's coming out. So that was exciting. Now we've even got a poster on the wall, which is even better. So my friend Ian Parker won't say, "Hey, Bards, it looks like you're doing your show from your panic room." Fuck you, Ian. So, I mean, yeah, things are coming to light through no small part to the efforts of people like yourself who have been very generous in donating their time and their expertise. Also, my friends Jeremy Lopez, James Lynch, Alex Barron. It takes a village, as they say, but it looks like we're finally getting somewhere, and I'm happy to have you aboard, and I want to talk more about you.
Okay.
What you doing?
Just been keeping busy. Really excited to be having a regular gig, learning lots of new songs, trying to remember lots of lyrics. So I'm actually going back to the notepad and paper pen.
You're so old school.
It has a function because when you write things down, it helps you remember. Yeah. And the one thing I've been noticing is that I don't have to get a phone out to find the lyrics to Sometimes Salvation by the Black Crowes. I can just turn to the page where I wrote it down, and it doesn't matter if I have low battery.
Are you an anti-tech guy?
No, not at all. I love technology.
Is it more of a like you said, a memory device doing it that way?
As I'm getting older, I think I'm realizing where I need to be more efficient with my use of technology and not have it control me. Mm-hmm. And I need to use it because it's supposed to be a tool. I'm not supposed to be the tool used by the machine.
we're all plugged into the matrix now.
Although we kind of feel like tools.
Yes, we're all just a bunch of tools.
Watch another video. Just watch another one. Just click to
just
the next
one more.
One.
Just one more.
Yeah.
Then you're down a YouTube rabbit hole, and you're like, so that's who killed Kennedy.
I think I don't know. I've had so many moments where I think I knew, and then I was like, but maybe it was the grassy knoll.
Well, yeah, I think that front shot, the Zapruder film, really showed that, right? Because the whole back and to the left with the head kind of thing. And the fact that one guy got hit on the underpass, like that takes one bullet away from, the three shots that Oswald supposedly fired.
After everything that I've seen, which is too much, I definitely think something fishy happened. I have absolutely no idea what it is, though.
See, that's the other thing, too. I mean, I know one person who claims to be connected. I don't know how much stock I put in those, but, that swears up and down that it was Marcello, the crime boss down south that had the guns put in because Kennedy used them to get elected in 1960 and kind of fucked them over and had, RFK prosecute the mafia. But I don't know if the mob is that ambitious to whack a president, to be that honest with you. And really, when you think about it, the mob, the traditional way of executing people, has always been, a 38 up close, right? In Sicily, it's more like car bombing and stuff like that. But when has the American mob ever really gone that hard at someone that high?
I think, a lot of people are incompetent. I mean, just look at me.
For example.
You think you have a goal, and it seems like an attainable goal, but somehow it just doesn't come to fruition. Whether it's like getting out of bed, or going to work, or having to run some errands. So I mean,
or killing the president.
well, I mean that seems like it would be way harder, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, and then of course, all those people that like to tell secrets, like, hey man, don't tell anybody, but I know some.
Right, and people like to feel special, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of it. Yeah, I think a lot of times people give people way too much credit of what they're capable of doing. People usually mess things up.
Yeah, people usually mess things up. So
Stumble along the way and end up where you are.
and in that vein, could it be possible that Oswald got off those 3 shots in those 6 seconds with that lousy, like, bolt action
I've heard
rifle?
arguments that say that it was impossible, and I've heard arguments that say it's absolutely possible. So, and I don't have a gun, and I don't know. I mean, I've shot a gun, but I don't really know anything about I know guitars really well, but I don't know guns as well. And I think it's a rifle, isn't it? So I don't know enough to know if the people who are on the internets that say it is or it isn't are credible.
That's fair enough.
You'd have to do it yourself. You'd have to go to that spot.
Go to Dealey Plaza.
Go to the place and shoot off the rifle yourself to see if you can do it.
And I'm sure, like, people have tried that. They must have, right?
Of course they have.
I'm sure it's like
I'm
a
sure
tourist
there's
attraction. You
another-
probably pay $20 and go try it now.
I'm sure there's a few documentaries right now you could type into your browser or your telephone or your tablet device to tell you all about it.
See, now if I had done any show prep, I would have had that handy, but not so much. I need a producer. So, in that vein, if there's anyone out there who wants to volunteer their time to produce this show, find me on the social media. There you go. Get my own plug in.
Where is that exactly? I would like to know.
Well, since you asked, Patrick Delano Reid, you can find all the show's social media information, all that bullshit, on bardscast.com.
Is there a WhatsApp page?
A WhatsApp page? Can
Is
you have
there a
WhatsApp
line?
pages?
I don't know. Is there is there a line page?
There's no line account yet, but there is. You can find it on the Twitter, on the Facebook, on
Facebook. Okay.
yeah, on the Instagram, and this hopefully will be posted on the YouTube as well.
Okay, so the YouTubes have it.
Yes, it will be transmitted towards the UbTub.
Okay. Any network television?
Network television? Do you think my studio would look like this if we were on network television?
Hey, man, if it became popular, you never know.
Yeah.
They just sign it up. License it out.
We'll keep chasing that rainbow.
Yeah.
At any rate, we completely buried the lead and got lost in a conversation about the Kennedy assassination. But the real story here is that you've got a regular gig again. 3 weeks of amazing shows at Britannia, history-making events. Everyone who's who in Taiwan showed up for those shows, and you were rewarded with a permanent gig. And so I just want to say congratulations to you, and thank you for providing quality entertainment in a city that direly needs it. And where do you go from here, man?
Well, thanks, Bardsley.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Bardsley, at Facebook Bardsley page, at the Twitters, at the place. I'm really excited. I have the means to set up the sound, and it's a nice, smaller, cozy room, so it's more personable. I can go off mic and still be heard. I can play with dynamics. I've been sort of not as much into my own writing anymore for a while. Not that I don't write anymore, but I'm just more interested in pop tunes and classic rock and songs that we all know and like, and sort of reinterpreting them and mixing them together and trying to hold a bigger bar of, like, because a lot of these songs I've probably played at one point or another, or I've heard them and I've thought about them, and I'm able to try to make a new 2-hour set every week, which is kind of a high bar. I don't know if I'm going to be able to.
It's kind of daunting.
Well, I'm trying to do it right now. That's why I'm writing down all those lyrics.
Right.
But so
even
far, so
at your
good.
best, and I love you like a brother, but even at your best, you're not exactly known for remembering lyrics.
No, well, you got to keep trying. You got to keep going. I mean, so far, that's the goal, is to have a new 2-hour set every week, and then note the ones that went well, and then keep those in for later, for maybe to repeat in a later date. I just have a lot of songs that I know, and I guess more like sequences of songs. There's a
Right.
lot of repetition, like that Cars tune there.
Yeah.
I that was always I was saying before. That's a song. I mean, we're always talking about that because someone in the band died. I'm sorry, I don't know who it is.
Rick Ocasek.
There you go. And I can't believe he doesn't know. Yeah, I don't know, but it's a good song.
Yeah.
And I always remember when I would hear it, I'd be like, that's a great song. I wonder who wrote that, or I wonder who does that. Oh, maybe it's like the Talking Heads. and then
One of those early '80s bands.
Yeah, exactly. So now just sitting down and working it out, thinking it was going to be hard, I wrote down the words. And then I was like, I shouldn't have written this down. This is pretty easy to remember. And then, it's this sequence. It's this sequence with the slight variation of this. It's like the most common.
So have you already found where to put it in the set then, or what it's going to go into, what it's going to come out of, that kind of thing?
I know that I can play it first of all.
Right. So that's step one.
Step one, writing the set would be probably the day of the show, and then the idea would be to find complementary or easily put in segues to mix it up, change it a bit. And then that way that helps me too, because then I don't necessarily have to remember the whole song. Maybe I just need to remember the best part of the song.
Yeah, when you do, because you do some really great medley work, and I'm not usually a medley guy. I'm kind of, I don't know, when I see commercial acts do it, it sometimes feels lazy to me. But when you're doing it, you've put such care into what you've chosen that it works, and it works so well. Like when you did "Hey Jude" and "Sympathy for the Devil," like that was a real crowd pleaser. You had to feel that.
What I'm trying to do with those moments is it helps you be present. A lot of times we're not really paying attention to our lives anymore, like most people. And
I ignore mine as much as possible.
And I think that's a cause for a lot of, like, I don't know, boredom, or maybe unhappiness, or maybe not. Who knows? Maybe your life is great, but I find it's better when I'm in the present moment. And the one way that I am able to do that is when I'm thinking about, oh yeah, this song could fit in here right about now, and then to be in the moment doing it. So then it feels more like improvisation as opposed to a set out plan of how it's going to go.
Mm-hmm. And how do you feel that there's always someone with an opinion on what you should be doing more of or less of, especially with bar crowds, right?
Yeah, that's true. I've had some opinions from some friends and from some strangers, and the more I think about it, the more I have to just smile and nod and just be like,
thanks for coming out.
Maybe not.
No?
Maybe, I don't know. What do you think? Should I be like, thanks for coming out? Or should I be like, you know what? I really don't care what you say.
Well,
I know that doesn't win for a lot of fans, does it?
That doesn't exactly drive repeat business.
No, but that's like that thing we were watching with Seinfeld, right?
Right, yeah,
right, where he was
on the Netflix is a joke with Tom Papa, right?
Yeah, where he was. What was it? The guy was trying to give him advice on how to write jokes,
or saying that he shouldn't repeat his material or something like that.
Right.
And Seinfeld, who's 65 and just getting a little crusty now, which I really like. I really enjoy.
I think he's gonna get even better as he gets older.
Yeah, it says something like, "Well, do you think you could come up with as well?" Or as good of an observation as I did? And he was like, well, no. And he goes, yeah, exactly. So actually that kind of ties back into what we were talking about, having to, or your goal rather of having the new 2 hours every week. I mean, like, is it really necessary for that kind of a crowd, a bar crowd? Like, is there any part of you that thinks maybe I should just be playing the hits?
I am a firm believer that the audience doesn't actually know what it wants. The performer does. The performer knows what the performer wants to do. And if the performer enjoys what they're doing and they're doing it really well, that's sort of the catalyst to the audience responding to it, I think. It's not the audience comes up with a nickel and puts it in the jukebox and plays a song they already thought they were going to like it. There needs to be like an element of surprise for the audience for it to be entertaining.
Well, it has been entertaining, especially the one week you incorporated Mr. Brownstone into every song you played.
Sometimes, you know, it doesn't mean that I'm right every time, but it means that I'm at least doing what I think is right, or trying to go towards that way. Sometimes the person that is making the comment is well-meaning, and to them it makes sense, but okay, let's see them do it. You know, you go up there and you do it, and maybe they could do it.
Yeah, maybe. I just, how long do you think is a new 2 hours every week sustainable?
That's a very good question. Until I run out of material, maybe. But maybe I won't. Wouldn't that be crazy? Jesus. That'd be like 20 songs. Okay, that's 20 songs. And that would mean like 100 songs a month that I have to learn. So
And you're a busy guy as it is.
There's 12 months in a year.
So
That's
they're cataloging these shows, right?
1,200 songs in a year. That's probably not going to happen, but we'll see. Maybe. You never know. I'd get better at memorizing lyrics or writing them down.
With the aid of your book?
I'd have some sweet penmanship or messier penmanship. We'll see.
Yeah, it'll devolve.
I'm trying to work it more like I like this idea of I love stand-up comedy. Love comedians. I think they're kind of, in a way, the most underrated art form. And what they do is so brave. They go in front of haters mostly. I mean, it doesn't exist in this country really. I don't know about any comedy clubs here.
No, I don't know about any clubs.
But in the American style of it or whatever,
right.
you more or less go in front of strangers and you try to tell jokes, most of which probably aren't funny, and nobody laughs, and everyone poos. And in some places, they might throw stuff at you and make you feel embarrassed, horrible, and then from that, you find what not to do. Wow. That's brave. And then when they
that's a life of pain, really.
And they do it every day.
Yeah.
Or every night or 3 times. Who knows? Some comics, I guess, are busier than others. Mm-hmm. Whereas you look at a musician, what do? They go and learn 20 songs. And then they perform them for 20 years. Right. Over and over and over again. Yeah. And it works. It's kind of like old school comics that would learn one set and they would do that set for their whole career.
Yeah, like Jay Leno and then, you know, the story of his parents with the VCR. Like I've heard that in so many different settings. I mean, it's a great story. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's interesting how in music it's like, okay, we'll tolerate the new stuff, but we want to hear the old favorites. Where in comedy, it seems to be the opposite. Well, okay, you know, if you want to throw in a couple of bits that we know, that's cool. But okay, where's the new shit?
As if you're performing, you want it to be fun for you and challenging, and I think that's when you're at your best. And if you're choosing from hits, they're all going to be good songs.
Right.
So it's just a matter of if you have practiced them enough to be able to perform them well.
But like a mega band like you know, Rolling Stones or Guns N' Roses, you know, like you're never gonna go to a show and be like, whoa, Axl, you know, like I don't want to hear Paradise City. Where's the new stuff?
Yeah, but that's a different kind of artist, and we all like those artists because they have such great classic songs, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't think I'm necessarily cut out to be that anymore. I'm still a nobody, so it doesn't really matter. But I'm kind of more in the realms of, like, if you think about Led Zeppelin, they would have their songs, right? But they would go and play a show, and every show was 100% different, and they had absolutely no idea what they were going to do. They had a framework, maybe, like they knew the songs. Yeah. But if you listen to live bootlegs of their different recordings of, say, A Whole Lot of Love, or, you know, there's like an hour version of something. You know what I mean? Like, and there's medleys within that. They'll go into Elvis Presley or, you know, some Beatles tune or something. They go all over the shop. And they're so in the present moment, and they're so listening to each other, and they're so ready to jump on the idea, and kind of like improv and acting. And to me, that's exciting. Yeah. That's what I want to do right now. Maybe later I'll want to go back to being, you know, sensitive songwriter. But right now, I just want to find really cool tunes that I like and play them to the way that I want to play them, not necessarily the way that they've been played in the original version of the band, but Pat Reid style, if you will.
The Pat Reid style. There
Well,
you
because
go.
that's all I can do, right? I can
Yeah.
do. I can't sing like Robert Plant. I can't sing like Barry White. Well, maybe, but I can sing like me, so I can try to do what I do, and then do it in that style. Yeah.
I mean, it's working for you. You were playing some old originals of yours last week, and you know the response seemed good.
That I was working on a new song. See, now when you write now, for me personally, I don't know about other people, but I find writing now takes longer. It takes like it's just
Why does it take longer?
I guess you think that it should be better. It's never good enough. You have to rewrite it, or you lose interest, or you have the musical idea. Like as I was talking to you before, the musical idea is easy. I mean, that's what comes naturally to me. I'm very musical, very melodic. And harmony and stuff. But in terms of like a message that resonates, or that people are going to care about, or that I'm going to care about. I mean, I can only say baby so many times before I feel like it's just
Lost all meaning.
it's just cliche, right?
Right.
And it's not real. It's not me. I mean, I call my kid baby because she's my baby.
Sure.
But now she's getting older, so I kind of just call her by her name. But baby's got a thing, but it's that commercial thing.
Right. And it's always an easy tie-in if you want to, like, you know, just add a syllable to a line or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's a go-to word.
Yeah. It's nice to have in the toolbox, isn't it?
I like. I've written a lot of songs of certain subjects, and after a while, lyrically, it feels to me like I'm rewriting the same idea, and that to me is sort of kind of silly.
So it's always a challenge to be more original then? Or?
Yeah, I want to have a new idea. I want to have something interesting to write about, something that I can sort of break down fundamentally into like some kind of feeling of the sound of the music that's coming out. The marriage of the words with the music. That's the ideal.
So what is interesting to you now at this point in your life?
What do you mean?
Just you said it has to be something that's interesting to you. So what is interesting to you? Like what gets your motor running? What you know when you hear it or when you experience it, you know, viscerally, you're like, that's the shit right there.
It's really hard nowadays because everything's so fragmented. It feels like the way we get our media now, we're in our own bubbles, and we might be consuming media that we think it might not even be good, but it's just like we ended up there because of the algorithms of what we're looking up on YouTube, and we're too lazy to type it in anymore, so we just fucking hit the feed and click on the video. Is this good? And then if it's not good, you stop watching. You watch a different one.
Especially with autoplay,
Yeah.
I find that's a killer, man. Because you're just, you know, maybe you saw something that
then
was
skip
really
ad,
interesting.
skip
You're
ad,
like,
skip
okay,
ad.
yeah, that
So
was good, and then it leads you. You're like, what am I watching?
The experience of media is just become great and terrible at the same time.
Terrifying, I think, is a good word.
That too. I mean, before at least you would get exposed to the same commercial media, and even though it was commercial, corporate, like rock or whatever, you at least both got to hear it. So you'd have a reference point. Like maybe if when Metallica played on the Grammys, you know, for Enter Sandman, you knew your buddy saw it. You probably saw it, and then you'd go to school and you'd talk about it and be like, "Oh, that was so cool, yeah." And then
Jethro Tull won.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they're like, "Well, we're very happy that Jethro Tull did not compete with us this year. Thank you. Your flutes did not win the heavy metal."
Yeah, well, it's got to be hard going against Jethro Tull in anything. I mean, like, you know, they would have won Best Disco Record that year. Jethro Tull are just.
But now you might be into some just obscure stuff that no one else is into.
Well, and yeah,
So, and with music,
like you said, though, it's a consolidation of things, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, back in our day, right? There's like what 20 channels,
Yeah.
and there was like 3 major networks, 4 if you count Fox, which came along later. Now, like you say, it's just so fragmented. There's 500
There's
channels
a cajillion,
on
zillion
on
channels,
regular TV,
and we're
now
we're
the
one
internet.
of them. We're one of them now.
Hey,
Bardscast.
.com.
And it's like, doesn't matter. Like, if people want to find you, they'll find you. But people are like, oh, this link just showed up. It has Bardscast. I should click on that instead of do a million other things I'm trying to do today. And my
You
interest.
really should.
But you probably should click on it.
Yeah. So we're part of the problem, is what you're saying.
We're just trying to, take a stab at it ourselves, I suppose. I mean, you're used for different reasons. I just want to play guitar and sing songs and play some big shows. And I always thought I wanted to record, but now recording seems silly because no one really listens to music anymore like they used to. Everyone gets distracted. It'd be like, hey, man, let's listen to this awesome song. Okay. You put it on, and then someone else is, I guess, cooler than you. So he's like, oh, yeah, let's listen to this song, even though the first song that we've all agreed is awesome isn't finished. But then another guy who also wants to be just as cool as you, he comes in and he fucking changes it to another song.
So it all turns into snippets.
Nobody has heard an entire song at all in years. Therefore, maybe that's why I'm doing medleys.
Exactly. Hold the attention span.
Yeah,
the pea-sized attention span of the average person
Possible.
now.
I mean, it'd be nice to, I don't know, if what I was going to get to before was that when you hear something really awesome, it's you don't need to say that it's awesome. You're just like, I like this. This is really cool. Or you're like, this is weird. I don't like this. I hate this. And then maybe a week later, you're like, actually, I think I do like it. There's a weird
It
music
grows on you, right?
Yeah, but definitely there's a feeling you get with music if it's really good, or if it was recorded properly, or if you're there at the show, and if the performer or the song or the combination of the experience or the people you're with, you're having a good time. It's fun.
Yeah, it's a lot more visceral if you're like experiencing it live and you're experiencing it, like you said, with friends, right? Because then it becomes a memory. Right? Rather than just, you sitting around cleaning your house and something cool happens to come on Spotify or YouTube or what have you. You're like, oh, yeah, that was a pretty good song. I think that's one reason. Well played, Pat. I think that's one reason. Lost my train of thought. Sorry.
All right. Well, Bardscast is thinking about sponsorship. But until Bardscast has sponsorship, you probably shouldn't be showing logos.
Well, I mean, maybe, but I've got a giant Superman in the background, so I think we've already shot that to hell.
But Superman was a stolen property. The original makers of that were ripped off, so it's okay.
Siegel and Schuster?
Yeah, it's public domain now. Those guys are dead.
Superman is dead?
No, the guys that created Superman are all dead.
Okay.
And the guys that made the movies and stuff, they're all, like Christopher Reeve's gone.
Also true.
So it's public domain.
And the new one is just not good.
The new one, I don't know.
What's his name? Henry Cahill?
He's pretty buff, I guess.
Yeah, just
he's British. He had a mustache and they erased it in the movie.
In the Justice League movie, yeah.
And that was a big deal.
Well, because you could just tell. It didn't look good.
I think it was just a way to market the movie.
Yeah, because I had given up on the Superman movies. As big a Superman nerd as I am, I went and saw Man of Steel, and I was like, ugh. And then I saw Batman versus Superman, and it felt like they were just raping my childhood over and over without any lube whatsoever. And it was just a miserable experience for me.
The original Christopher Reeve Supermans are so good.
Yeah, the first two especially.
And I loved them so much, and I watched them so often, as my family members would know. When I was little, I used to watch Superman all the time. And I knew all the words. I could hardly speak English, but I knew all the words of the Superman.
Really?
Movies.
So is that how you learned to speak English coming over from Quebec?
I think probably watching a lot of movies, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of movies. And
now teaching English, is that something you recommend to your, obviously you teach kids, like smaller kids, but do you ever hey, you should go home and watch Sesame Street or something like that?
I've said that many times to many people, and hardly anyone has ever taken that advice, except for a few friends, actually foreigners, who have taken that advice watching Chinese movies to learn Chinese or listen to Chinese songs. Yeah, it makes sense. If you watch something over and over again, you start to learn it.
Yeah,
And you may not understand it,
because
but
I'm coming into Chinese from ground zero, right? I know to say
Good
hello.
luck.
Yeah, thanks. I know how to say hello and order a bit of food, and that's about it, right? So
Okay, well, do you
getting dumped into the deep end of watching Chinese movies, like I'm not sure I would adapt well to that, especially in my advanced years.
yeah, I think those are all cop-out excuses. No offense, not to
None
you,
taken.
but also to me. I think anyone can learn anything if they actually want to learn it. But you're not gonna just try. It's like Yoda or whatever. You have to do it or you
Yeah.
don't do it.
Do it
And
or
and you
not, there
can't
is
just
no
try it
try.
once. You have to keep trying until it works, and it might take a million times.
Yeah, I've tried a couple of times, and well, you know me, I get frustrated rather quickly. So
That frustration bit is understandable, but totally unnecessary and a bad use of energy, misdirected energy. Yeah.
well, I know how to swear in Chinese, so I can just whenever I get too frustrated, something like that, right?
Something like that. Yes.
I got there.
Is this a family show?
Well, it depends on the family, really.
Okay.
F is for family, as Bill Burr says.
Yeah.
Did you see Bill Burr's new special?
I did.
What did you think?
Probably could have waited.
Really?
I think it was cool that he did it in the Royal Albert Hall.
Yeah.
But I think also there's a quote maybe I don't know if it's to George Carlin that said each comedian has about a good 2 hours in them for their life, is what he says. So you could take all of their bits and condense it down to 2 specials. That's about as good as most comedians can be, because of all that you have to find. What I find is once I've seen a comedian special too many times, and when you find a new comedian, they're so funny, and you just want to see more and more. But once you've seen too many, you start to know their cadence, you start to know their delivery, their tricks, and most thing about comedy is about being surprised. So there's no surprise anymore, so it's not as funny. I mean, that's at least what I think.
Yeah.
So with Bill Burr, maybe because he's that outrage guy, maybe now. I still, don't get me wrong, Bill Burr's hilarious. I still think he's hilarious. There's no knocking him at all. It's great. I just say that when I first saw him, he was funnier because I didn't know what to expect.
Right.
And
so
he has
now
this
you're just
style.
kind of along for the ride rather
When
than
he has
like,
this style,
being
right?
shocked, right?
And that's the style that he has. And
Yeah.
it's not like, it's maybe like music where the musician has started out as a blues band, and then each album, like AC/DC, each album is always the same
Sure. Yeah.
riff.
Yeah. The AC/DC has been releasing the same album for 30 years.
Kinda. I mean, it's different, but it's more or less the same.
Yeah.
In a way. And so you take another band. I don't know. You take another band that changes, like the Beatles were, where they were really bubblegum, and then they got a bit more experimental, and then more experimental, and then went back to the roots and stuff. And each album sounded so different from the other one.
Yeah.
So you couldn't help but like it because it was fresh and new with a different approach.
Yeah, the one line I loved in the Bill Burr, or the one bit I loved in the Bill Burr special was, him talking about his wife. The where is this coming from? You go to 0 to 100 like
Yes,
that,
yeah.
And it's just like, no, you don't understand. I idle at about 75, and I'm like, that makes sense to me. That spoke to me,
Yeah, I could relate to some of that stuff for sure.
Yeah.
I was the one line something about, we just come to the realization that evidently it's just me. I'm the only one that's causing issues. She's perfect.
Yeah, she's a work of art under glass or some shit.
But
right?
I'm the one that needs to, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's generally relationships between women and men, where the woman is always finding ways for the man to improve himself.
Right. What's that? I don't know if it's a book or a play or something like that. But I love you. You're perfect. Now change.
Yeah. Yeah. That's.
You got me thinking now about that George Carlin quote about how each comedian maybe has 2 hours or maybe 2 specials in this day and age.
Yeah, but when a special is usually an hour.
Yeah, because I remember when I first was introduced to stand-up comedy. I mean, like it was Bill Cosby, Fatherhood,
Eddie Murphy,
Delirious,
So
and Raw,
funny.
and like even like Dennis Miller. He had the Off-White album. Then he had Black and White, and then he had the one where he's in Washington. I forget, Mr. Miller Goes to Washington or something like that. And like those albums, those VHS tapes, whatever I consumed them on, they really spoke to me, and it kind of made me as loquacious as I am now, right? Because thank you. Well, thank Dennis Miller, because he was the one that got me interested in big words, right? But you're right. After that, like even '96, I forget what the special was. I think he was in Denver or something, and it didn't have the punch of the older stuff. It didn't have that same kind of feel to it, right? And it seemed like he was going a lot more on just soliloquies rather than setting up jokes. And it's before like he went super crazy conservative, but it just wasn't there anymore, And now he's just I don't find. I try to listen to his podcast because I still do treasure those memories.
The thing is, like once you've seen a special, you've seen it. So it's a very short window of appreciating something amazing, right? And something that took so much work to put together. You look at George Carlin's stuff, even some of the old stuff, it holds up. Some of it doesn't, but like the one about the stuff.
Yeah.
That holds
More
up.
Stuff, yeah.
The early '90s stuff, and with that guy, I mean, most of the stuff I've seen of him, I saw within a year span of just YouTube. I didn't know it existed when I was a kid.
And it's funny that he would say that each comedian only has 2 hours of great material.
He's made an exception, yeah.
Because like he was so prolific, even like right up till the end. And like I love watching those late Carlin ones because he was just so angry and so bitter. And he didn't remember anything. He just, like he kept that book right on stage with him. He would just turn the page. Oh, yeah, this is what I'm talking about now.
I just really I think the last one he did was where he was like, fuck Lance Armstrong. Fuck him and his balls. Yeah. I'm tired of that asshole.
Yeah.
That's his opening line. And it's so wrong, but it was so funny. And he looks like such an old man on stage.
Yeah. Well, what do you think he would think of the current climate around comedy right now? Because it does seem like a lot of people are walking on eggshells, and we live in this cancer. You got me thinking about Lance Armstrong. Cancel culture now, where Chappelle had the bit on his last special where he was like, oh, I'm going to do an impression. I'm going to find something you did 15 years ago. Yeah. I don't care if you said sorry or if you're better now. Yeah. I'm going to make sure you don't have a job. And he goes, that's you. That's how I feel about the fucking audience. And they ate it up.
That's so true, though. Yeah. But that guy's like a sage, man. That guy's amazing. Oh, I mean, everyone loves that guy.
Yeah, who doesn't love Dave Chappelle? But what would a guy like George Carlin have to say about 2019 and
I think he would go
cancel
harder.
Culture?
He'd go harder, and I mean, the last if maybe it's not his last special, but if his last special he says, "Fuck Lance Armstrong," and this is at the point where there are articles saying that he's innocent and stuff like that, and he's like, "Fuck him and his steroids and his I'm tired of that asshole." And he's saying that before it's like common knowledge. There's still people defending him and stuff, right? So he's saying, basically, big middle finger to the man and everything else. Mm-hmm. At that point, why would he stop?
Yeah,
I think he'd get
worse.
He
would have to double down at that point,
He
right?
would get worse. Yeah, he'd get even more shocking. Probably be funnier. Crusty old man. There's nothing funnier than a crusty old man.
And going back to, that looks like what Seinfeld's getting to. He seems to be getting a lot shorter with people now, right?
I think, that guy, you can tell he still writes all the fucking time. So he's going to get better. So when you're already amazing, you're going to get better. So you can see those comedians that are just that, like Dave Chappelle, like Seinfeld, or like, I don't know, some of the other ones you're not sure if they still got it.
Eddie Murphy's the big question mark, right? 'Cause-
Apparently, he's going to come back.
yeah.
Apparently, he's doing stuff in
He's,
clubs.
yeah,
so I've
he's
heard.
working clubs, and he's apparently going to do a special for Netflix. And him and Jerry had like a Netflix
Oh, like the
sit down interview or whatever it was.
Oh, what was not the coffee and car thing?
No, not on. Well, maybe they did do that as well. I'm not 100% on that. I don't really watch that.
I love how we talk about all these celebrities like we know who they are.
we know them through the magic of our
Yeah,
computer
we watched them on my
screens.
phone.
Yeah,
Watched it on my phone.
we're actually not close personal friends like Pat Reid and Izzy Stradlin.
Which I am also not. I don't know any famous people.
No, I don't know any famous people either. I know fight people, and that's about it. But like most of them wouldn't be recognizable to the general population.
I think it's
don't
probably
think.
good that I don't know any famous people.
Why?
I don't know.
Because they wouldn't like you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll get back to this Eddie Murphy thing, because Eddie Murphy was king shit in the '80s, right? He could do no wrong,
Yeah.
whether
Oh
it was-
yeah. Now all this stuff is date. It's very anti-gay, anti.
Yeah, he couldn't do Delirious
LGBTQ
now,
or whatever.
right? He couldn't do Delirious now.
Or he could. I think it depends on... The problem about jokes is that, unfortunately, people who have had bad things happen to them, which everyone's had bad stuff happen to them, some people more, as soon as it's a joke that's on your sensitive bit, the part where you don't think it's funny, then all of a sudden you're the one that's... And even comedians do it. You've seen comedians get pissed off at people making fun of them. They don't like being... Except for maybe Conan O'Brien. You could say the worst thing about Conan O'Brien, and he would agree with you and laugh about it.
Yeah,
even if
he's
he
got
wasn't
a self-deprecating sense of humor.
exactly.
that way,
But
yeah.
you take someone like Eddie Murphy. If you started making fun of Eddie Murphy, he wouldn't think it's funny.
Oh, he was gonna
Kill
beat up-
David Spade
yeah,
or
David
whatever.
Spade
right?
back in the day.
So it's very hypocritical in a way. But the idea is that every person has a sensitive spot about a subject. And so you might be one of the people that gets made fun of that night. That's kind of the deal, I think.
Right.
And if you're mature enough, you'll eat it up and take it and live another day. Ooh, but you don't understand. I have some things that have happened in my life too, but I'm not spreading it around and doing parades about it or telling everyone about it. They're personal
Triggered.
things.
You're triggered.
Yeah. I think if I was a comedian, I would double down and say whatever I want, and then my middle finger would go up way higher for everyone. Because if you don't do that, then you're at the mercy of the people who don't like you anyways. That's the thing. The people that don't
That's
like
the thing.
you
Yeah,
can shut you down now.
and
Whereas
it's-
before they
it's
wouldn't
almost
go
like
to your
you're-
show.
Yeah, you're chasing approval or something like that of people that don't like you anyway.
It's the people that want the broad appeal. They want the commercial success. They want to be, on primetime television. And the only people allowed on primetime television are the people who didn't fuck up.
Yeah, and who is that? Who has never fucked up? I would
what's
love to be that person.
Well, you say if you was it?
Oh, under a big enough microscope, everybody's an asshole.
So true.
Yeah,
And you know it.
yeah, you were there.
Yes.
And look what happened to poor Kevin Hart.
I think he's fine.
Well, I know, but apparently he really wanted to host the Oscars.
Yeah.
And he apologized 50 million times for 4 tweets that were years ago.
Yeah.
And they're still like, no, you're gone.
Yeah, but you know what I think?
Nobody can host the Oscars now.
You know what I think? Did you watch the Oscars?
Well, no, I'm not that audience.
Okay. Ask me the same question.
Did you watch the Oscars, Patrick?
No.
Not so much, huh?
So, are you a Kevin Hart fan?
I like Kevin Hart.
too.
Yeah.
So if Kevin Hart was doing a thing, would you go and watch it?
Sure, if he was playing Taipei or something like that.
No, but even if it was on your phone or on the TV, would you
Sure,
watch
yeah. Dude, I even watched Central Intelligence.
it? So there you go. He's getting shut out of the place that he's not wanted. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So when I was a kid, I'd watch the Oscars because it looked special, it looked spectacular. Everyone dressed up nice.
And again, there was only 3 channels.
It was the only thing on, wasn't
Yeah,
it? On
yeah.
Sunday. There's no game. There's no because they make it that way. They make sure. There's
Right,
no
exactly. It's destination programming.
Game. Yeah,
right?
and they're pumping their movies. They want you to go. If it wins the Oscar, it'll have more. Yeah. So you've seen, and even Grammys, and I have. Those are things I used to be excited to watch, and now, I haven't seen one. I don't think my kids have seen any of those shows either. Thank God.
Yeah, I think award shows are fucking just
Stupid.
jerk offs anyway.
No, they're
right?
not. They're promotional campaigns. They're
Yeah.
advertising.
And the one good moment I saw just on the YouTube there was Ricky Gervais at the Golden Globes, where he just laid into everybody.
That is
right?
that's the only, you're right. That's better than the Oscars because it's hilarious. Because
Yeah.
he is making fun of all of the famous people who deserve to be made fun of.
Yeah,
Because they
and
have
you could
everything.
Just tell the mood in the room was just like, oh my god.
But some of the things he says are
Yeah.
so funny.
Wasn't he picking on Mel Gibson as well?
Everybody.
Yeah.
No one's.
And that was like Mel
everyone's
Gibson's
on
big
it.
comeback, wasn't it? He did Heartbreak Ridge.
It's like, can I get a drink or something? Do you have? You shouldn't be drinking now or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good stuff. So, like, in that vein, like, you know, you say if you were a comedian, you would be the one raising your middle finger the highest. You know, what about musicians these days? Is there anyone really bucking the system anymore?
If no one's watching the music, or actually more importantly, if no one's listening to it, does it really matter? You know, so I think the only way you can have those moments is in rooms, events, something that's curated to make it palatable for an audience that likes music, an appreciative music audience, you know, not people who are there to go and find chicks. I mean, some people want to find chicks and want to listen to music too. You know, some people want to go and meet
Both
a
those
guy.
things are fun.
Yeah. Some people want to go talk about their day. But, you know, it's not the same. That's not what I really want. I kind of want a room that is all doing music. It's very selfish. I just want to do a thing where I perform and people are either into it or they're listening to it.
You have to do a soul show for that now, right?
I guess, yeah. Maybe that's when I'll do my writing stuff, my original stuff.
Yeah, because
Cause
we've talked about this before. Bar crowds are different animals, right?
That's true. But if you can win a bar crowd, then you can murder a paid crowd, I think.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that.
Not in a real way.
Not literally murder them, not throw them in a well.
No, because that would be wrong.
Yeah, it's frowned upon. But even when you were in Kaohsiung, and I think we've talked about this before, doing the Lighthouse, which you are doing again when?
Next Saturday.
Which is
the 27th or 28th?
I think it's 28th.
Saturday Kaohsiung Lighthouse, yeah.
Yeah.
Big ups to Eric and Brett.
Yeah, great guys. You should be there too if you're anywhere in the Taiwan general sphere of influence. The Lighthouse is a great time, great room, and it's going to be a great show. Good food too. A lovely wait staff. Yes. But anyway, my point is that even in that room, you know, like you did win that room eventually, but there were people who were just there to, it doesn't matter what you're
socialize,
or it didn't matter what you were going to do. Yeah.
But as a performer, you want to think that you can win those over too.
Well,
it's like casting a spell.
I didn't know if you were telling the story on one of our failed attempts at this show before, but we should tell that story later. But you mentioned that the people at the table next to you were playing drinking games or dice games or something like that, and were getting loud, so it made you play louder, which made them get louder, which made you play louder, and it became like a test of wills.
Yeah, they were probably like, man, this guy's so annoying. Maybe why can't he just shut up and stop playing music? No, you don't understand. He's been hired by the club to play. You guys maybe should know, but yeah, I think it's just background music. We're just there to for the people who appreciate music.
And again, you won that crowd. You played for 4 hours that night or something.
Yeah, that was kind of. Well, I'm practicing for my 2-hour sets.
Well, there you go.
Right? If I can run a longer marathon than the actual marathon, then the real race ends up being a cinch.
Well, there you go. So, what's the goal for the next Lighthouse show?
I think I'm
longer than the Godfather trilogy.
No, I think I'm going to shorten it up because actually it depends. It depends on how I feel, but I think I in my book. Not the one that I'm selling in bookstores.
Available now. The Pat Reid Chronicles.
In the journal where I've been writing out lyrics and set lists and song lists and ideas for songs, I after the show I highlight the songs that went well or that I think went well. So for example, the Hey Jude
Sympathy for the Devil.
Sympathy for the Devil. Yes, that one.
Yeah.
was highlighted. So I'd probably try that one. Even though I haven't played it since, I'd probably try that one at the Lighthouse because that went well. So if it went well there, kind of like a comedian would try out his bit.
Right.
Did that joke work? It did. I'll try it again at the next venue.
Yeah, and that's that's another nice thing about going down south is that that's a fresh audience for you. Like you seem really committed to doing new songs every week. But again, if it's new to them, it's new to them, right?
That's true. Yeah, I just you got to keep it interesting for yourself. The longer you play, the more you retain certain songs. The more songs that you thought were great a year ago become a little stale or boring, and you need something new.
What's something that you haven't tried yet that you kind of got in the back of your mind that when the time is right, I'm going to bust this out?
There's a lot. There's a lot. But whether or not it comes to fruition, we'll see. I mean, ideally, it'd be great to have a band. It's just, we were talking before, having a band is just so much more work and politics and talking to people. And I love music, but I don't like directing musicians or telling musicians what to do. I like it when the pieces just sort of fall into place and people intuitively know what they should do and do their own sort of homework. And but yeah, having a band would be great. But by myself, I was thinking, I've been practicing the trumpet.
Right.
And I play the trumpet in the Beach Sharks.
Beach Sharks, who are playing Compass Fest this year.
Yes, they are.
So if you're in Taiwan, come to Compass Fest. Always a good time, and you get to see Pat Reid on the trumpet.
Yeah. And the rest of the band, too. There's quite a few of us.
Oh, yeah. Also them. What would the backup dancers be there?
I think we're going to get some dancers, yeah.
Yeah, because they were the most entertaining part of the stage show last time I saw you anyway. Yeah.
Great.
Remind me of like the Fine Young Cannibals backup dancers, and she drives me crazy.
Yeah.
That was the first thought I had.
So the idea was to, on some songs, because I'm using a looper sometimes, not always, but on some songs, perhaps I could play a trumpet solo.
So what songs are you thinking about diving into for a trumpet solo?
I haven't thought of the actual song. I just thought that I could have it in there as a color. Like maybe I could use a delay pedal with it, or I could do something simple. Because I'm still pretty I'm improving on the trumpet, but I am a novice still. And I've put a lot of practice into it. But it seems like an instrument, you need to play it for at least 3 years, I think, to be decent. And you probably need to play it for 10 or 20 years to be good,
The most important part is, can you do that spinning in your hand thing? The spin the trumpet around like the guy in James Brown's band?
I'm afraid that if I did that, I would drop the trumpet. But I can do these cool little trills where I go...
So you're getting there.
Yeah.
You're halfway to James Brown.
Mm-hmm.
You are the godfather of soul, Pat Reid.
I've called myself James Brown on occasion.
Have you?
Yeah.
In what situation? Musically or?
When I'm playing a James Brown song, I'll just say, I'm James Brown.
Bitch. Woo, living in America. So, do you do any James Brown in the set now, or?
No, I James Brown is, if you want to use the word, what was the word you used to describe me?
Inimitable?
You could say that about James Brown, because I've never heard anyone do a James Brown song better than James Brown. Ever. James Brown's amazing. It's just so good. Bob Dylan, amazing songs, but I've heard so many people play his songs better than him.
Sure, even a guy like Prince. Prince is an amazing songwriter, but I've heard interpretations of his songs that are like, "Whoa, this is right on," kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's sort of all over the place. He's just
Yeah.
such a musician, such a almost like a jazz artist, like in a very complex way, without the pop. Was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Keep forgetting. Yeah, we got to talk about
Yeah.
the guy past tense now.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
bummer.
it was. Oh,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do?
Well, that's life. Anyway, Pat, thanks for doing this, man. I mean, like this is our third try at this.
Yeah, this is the three times the charm.
Third time's a charm. You know, we were besieged with technical difficulties
Big
the
time.
first couple times. We had great conversations, and maybe we'll release that on bardscast.com as some bonus content or something like that. Because even if the audio was bad, the conversation was amazing, and we really hit on a lot of things. But I thank you for your time and patience. And everyone should see this man, Patrick Delano Reid, every Friday night at Britannia in Taiwan. And September 28th at the Lighthouse with the Beach Sharks at Compass Fest in October. I forget the day. Do you know the day?
I think maybe the 5th.
Maybe the 5th.
It's a Saturday, I think.
It usually is.
Yeah, I think the schedule hasn't come out yet, but I believe that October 5th, Saturday, is the show for the Beach Sharks. Beach Sharks.
Yes. Love the Beach Sharks. Another amazing Pat Reid musical journey. Anyway, thank you, Patty. I really appreciate it.
Cheers, man.
All right. Check out all the social media bullshit on bardscast.com. We will be back. I'm sorry, but we will be back. And hey, until next time, things could be worse. Bye, everybody.